US lawmakers are set to debate a bill on Wednesday that its architects say could radically change US policy toward Taiwan. It's called the Taiwan Policy Act and was sponsored by two senators in the US Senate's Foreign Relations Committee. They say the act is designed to promote Taiwan's security and deter Chinese aggression toward it. If passed in its current form, the US would provide Taiwan with $4.5 billion of security assistance over the next 4 years. Designate Taiwan a major non-NATO ally to expedite arms sales, enter negotiations to rename Taiwan's de facto embassy in Washington, currently Taipei Economic and Cultural Representative Office, to the Taiwan Representative Office. But there's concern among some US officials that the bill could worsen already strained ties with Beijing, which opposes any implicit recognition of Taiwan's sovereignty. To find out more about the Taiwan Policy Act, our reporter James Chater spoke to Blake Herginger, a civilian Indo-Pacific defence policy specialist based in Singapore.
What's the Act's timeline after this markup, and how likely do you think it is to become genuine US policy?
I do not think that we'd see this complete. The draft that's available now will not go forward as an entire policy. There will be pieces that drop out. There's a lot of contention between the legislative and executive branches on Taiwan policy, as we saw with the president and Nancy Pelosi, kind of the public dust-up over her visit. So there will be some haggling and horse trading over what is in this final bill.
What do you think is the most significant aspect of the Act as it currently stands? And is there any part of it which you think is lacking?
One of the big changes is that it offers Taiwan the opportunity to become a foreign military financing recipient for the first time since the Chiang Kai-shek era. To date, over the last 4 decades, Taiwan has purchased arms from the United States through the Foreign Military Sales Program, FMS. So moving them into a recipient status and receiving $4.5 billion in assistance is a big change. I think the effort to shift Taiwan toward foreign military financing does reflect the fact that Congress would like to see money that the United States might be spending spent on priorities that the United States has identified as useful for Taiwan. So not taking over Taiwan's defense policy, but having a bit more agency in where those dollars are spent, as opposed to the sales program, FMS, where Taiwan is effectively just a customer and it's cash on the barrelhead for arms platforms that they want.
There has been some criticism of the Act that it's pouring fuel on the fire of already pretty sour relations between Beijing and Washington, given the recent visit of Nancy Pelosi. How would you respond to such a criticism of the Act as it stands?
You know, it's been 4 decades since the passage of the Taiwan Relations Act. U.S. policy on Taiwan must adapt to the times, and that is, I think, what Congress is aiming to do. Obviously, this is a high-stakes time for U.S.-China relations, and the Biden administration is highly cognizant of that. They're not ignoring the fact that tensions with Beijing are at a very high point, and that coincides with Beijing's power being far greater than it has been in past crises. And so the president, as the head of state for the United States, it's his foreign policy. He is, the head of the executive branch, but Congress also has foreign relations responsibilities, and they're also the holder of the checkbook. Now, will it inflame relations with the PRC? It certainly could, but I think that there's a recognition of that. But I think any policy going forward needs to take into account where things stand on the ground now.